We continue to celebrate Easter. And I think last week I said, so what? And I asked the same thing, so what? And it's an important question to ask, because when we celebrate Easter, we celebrate that things have changed in our hope for life everlasting because of God in Jesus Christ. But so what? Or at least in terms of our life today. And then, once in a while, something comes along that challenges your so what. A few days ago, our diocesan staff had a mass in the chapel. And when I came into the room, into the chapel, there were a number of candles on the altar. And I didn't quite understand why there were all of these new candles. I think there were 6 or 7. And I know there's a liturgical tradition around that number, but this was not because of that. Each of the candles represented in the last couple of weeks a family member, usually a parent, that somebody on our staff had lost. They had died, and one of those candles was there for my father. And so it struck me, and struck all of us, a couple of things. This is a different Easter for many people, at least around here, because during this Holy Week and Easter season, many among us are dealing with the death of a loved one. And that was just in our diocesan staff. I'm aware of this profoundly in the diocese. Perhaps this Easter season will mean something different and more for those people who have lost a loved one, or those among us who know and are aware of that. One of the temptations, though, is where do I go from here? Do I go back or do I go forward? And what does going forward look like, especially when a dear one has died or something else has happened? For some people, life, work, family life has a particular crisis or opportunity, and it affects us now. Go back as if nothing happened, or stay the same because we just want to get back to equilibrium, or move forward. If you listen to the gospel closely today, the road to Emmaus, one of the greatest passages of Luke's gospel that tells us about the faith life, this issue is unfolding. The 2 disciples are going backward from Jerusalem. They are leaving the place throughout the Gospel of Luke where they have taken all of the disciples. Why? Jerusalem is the ultimate place where Jesus will complete his mission. And so here is the situation unfolding. They go forward or do they go back? And they don't know what to do. They leave Jerusalem. They leave the place where the mission has happened. And they are perplexed and they don't know what to do. They're trying to make sense of something that's absolutely confusing. Jesus appears to them. This is the 3rd resurrection revelation. But they can't recognize him because they are lost, it seems, in their disappointment and in their uncertainty of where do we go from here. Jesus is the ultimate teacher. This is one of the genius examples in Luke's gospel of how Jesus teaches. Quick side note, he doesn't impose, why don't you get it? I have risen. He hears their disappointment and accompanies, as Pope Francis would say, where they are in their journey. And they share, boy do they share. We had hoped that he would deliver Israel. We had pinned, if I could use my language, we had pinned our hopes on him, and we are so disappointed. Our leaders crucified him. They didn't just diss him. They didn't just disagree with his teaching. He died the most scandalous death possible in our culture and time. But not only that, some amongst our group have said he is risen. He said this. We didn't really understand it. The tomb is empty. Some have seen him in a risen form and angels. This is utterly crazy. Then Jesus, the ultimate teacher, then intervenes. There is a time after listening to say, don't you get it? Here is the truth. And so Jesus points out through the scriptures, the prophets, the Old Testament as we call it now, all the ways in which the prophets had laid out what would happen to the Messiah of the Lord, who is now revealed as the Son of God. Their hearts burn. All of a sudden, they are in a different new place of realization. Jesus makes to go on, and they invite him to stay with them for the night, and he breaks bread with them, and then their minds and hearts are opened, and they recognize him, and he disappears. Why does Jesus disappear? This is a topic of many theologians for a long time. Some have said, well, he disappears because now he is present in the Eucharist, and he is present in a new way in the church. They have also said, maybe in addition to this theme, now the mission is theirs. He has gone to Jerusalem and done what he set out to do. And now this mission carries on in their lives and the life of the church. I like this interpretation because that is where I and you, I think, are left now. So what, we say? Yes, Easter's a great message. Jesus rises from the dead. How does this affect me now? It doesn't just affect me when I die. It affects us now. Because the world is facing a decision every day. Do we go forward to Jerusalem, or do we walk backward as if nothing happened? The decision, the direction, the choice is obvious. And today I'd like to conclude my comments by thanking the people of God of the Diocese of Saskatoon for showing me many ways in which the mission of Christ continues to unfold. A couple of circumstances. Yesterday, the Knights of Columbus throughout Saskatchewan gathered in Prince Albert. I was there for part of the day, and we're reflecting on their mission as Knights. And what I appreciate what they're doing, this isn't a plug for the Knights, but it's just what happened yesterday. They're renewing their mission all the time. They're looking at their founder. They're looking at the basis on which they were established. And they're looking to renew that mission in light of the gospel and where the church is today. Some of the practical ways or examples of that are the focus on evangelization and the spiritual formation of their members and how that affects their work of service, and they do lots of work of service in the world. Today is this special collection for the Priest Pension Fund, and I remember last year the powerful words of two of our elder priests, Father Dennis Fanoff and Father Emile April, and we've put the video up on the website that we used last year, where these elder priests who are retired basically say, well, I just can't retire from being a priest. I am a priest, and I have the privilege of continuing to be a part by filling in at parishes where priests need to take a vacation or leave, or to help out in different ways. I have the privilege in my life this side of heaven of serving the ministry of Christ as a priest. I was at a reception last evening of a young man, Jonathan Lashen, who married Caitlin, and they had a wonderful reception. And it was fascinating to reflect, without getting into his journey, the journey of a young man who loves his faith, takes it very seriously, was a great hockey athlete, still is, and is now asking the question, I am embracing the vocation of marriage as a young man, so what? Where do I go from here? And my love of the faith, my new family, and my call to Christ's mission in the world. There are so many examples of this, and I thank God in this Easter season that He is putting in our way not only the beloved who have died, but these are the occasion to say, where do I go from here? I hope and trust my Father is with God, with my mother in heaven. And they are now in a place calling me and us forward. This is the community of faith. Brothers and sisters, a blessed Easter season to us all. And may we hear what the scriptures say as they call us to not turn back, but to go forward. Not to keep things as they were, but to travel further and deeper in the spiritual opportunity that God puts before us in this Easter season. God bless you.